So I'm going to be comparing a mellow deck on low trucks with a steep deck with high trucks, and we're going to see how they feel. This one's already soggy because some olive oil ended up soaking into it. And then this board is obviously louder, but it's over a year old. So let's start with the high end. So the high board takes a lot more effort though to make contact with the ground because it's higher up, obviously. So you do get a little more pop, but it's more delayed. And way less chance of a wheel bite. And that's the high trucks, not the steep kicks. So we'll go to this more mellow, kind of flat deck with low trucks. We'll see how that goes. So it makes contact a lot faster, but you don't have as much time to kind of sling it up. So you do gotta pop quicker versus harder, if that makes sense. Very quick and responsive, but you don't get as much float. But again, you're lower to the ground. And that's so far what I like, because I've always ridden kind of low boards. But that board, you just feel like you're high up and you're not one with the earth. Where a lower board, you don't get as much pop, but you just get way more control because you're lower. So those are a few of those things. Now I'm going to try a kickflip. So I get that quick pop and then I can sling and flick it. And that's what gives me my height. So this board you get a more delayed pop. And personally I feel like it doesn't help with higher kickflips. As you can see there, because you're popping then flicking. Versus if you pop and flick at the same time, you can kind of throw and bone the kickflip up. And I think the speed of the pop matters more than the power of the So it felt pretty good. But I'll try the same thing on the low to the ground board. Which the low to the ground boards feel more like a snowboard. Versus like a, I guess that has more of a ripstick kind of feeling, and this has more of a snowboard feeling. So I didn't really pop that. Surprisingly, I don't know why, but you feel a lot more control because again, you're more flat and centered. And you can do more responsive stuff like that. The downside with lower trucks though is wheel bite. And I mean you can just see how much higher the kick is. And this is actually short side. I mean like it just engulfs it. You do have that extra space so you don't get wheel bite. But you're also kind of higher up. So I feel like the best way to combat wheel bite and be low to the ground is to get small wheels on a low truck, or at least get a low truck with riser pads. So I like suck at doing tray flips. Like I'm surprised I got that one. Now I'll tray flip with this, and in theory you should be able to do it higher. But you don't get as fast as a kind of a whipping motion. And the thing with tray flips is it's not really about how hard or strong you pop and scoop it. It's about like loading up the pressure. So you would put most of your weight on your front foot, and then when you kind of let it up, it'll naturally sling up and it'll do the pop. So that's why tray flips are harder on this versus that. Now this being a steeper kick, the only benefit is just doing like higher, more delayed pops. So think like Torrey Pogwell or Andrew Brophy. But you gotta reset your whole muscle memory for that. So don't be like switching between a steep setup with high trucks and then a mellow one, because you're just gonna mess up all of your muscle memory and timing. The other downside of a steep kick, and not so much the high trucks, is you have to push down and lever more for like doing manuals. So it's not just the bearings, it's also doing that. So you feel more vertical when you're doing manuals, and that can just mess up everything. We're doing something on a lower board with the mellow kick. You kind of just stand there and you just hold it and lock in. You stand there forever and not worry about things. So, high trucks also on a mellow board, because I've ridden this deck on these trucks. It still works out. Your pop is a little more delayed and you don't get all the wheel bite. That's the only benefit of this. So if you're doing transition, this is also good because then you can loosen your trucks and like deep carve. But honestly, I would suggest not riding tensor trucks if you're going to be doing transition, because the turning and responsiveness and everything that has to do with tensors, not good for carving, not good for transition. So these are lightweight, but the turning, it feels like the trucks are in control versus you. Where, for example, with Thunders, it feels like you're the one who controls it, and it's almost like a responsive snowboard where you get all that precision. I haven't done a strict in a while. I think I can get it. That was the weirdest one I've done. Oh, my toe didn't touch, by the way. That's just, I got big feet, and that's the other benefit, I guess, of high trucks and a high board on that, is more distance for your toe to not touch the ground if you don't land properly. So with lower trucks and a more mellow board, you definitely got to kind of land more perfect, and that is a little more forgiving on the landings. But again, you don't have as much control. Gross. That was a toe touch there. So, long story short, high trucks and high steep kicks, more time for it to hit the ground, where if it's lower and more mellow, you know, it's gonna hit the ground. So when you're first going from a low board like that to this, you actually get a lot of ghost pop because you're only used to doing your movements a certain way. So sometimes you'll like get here, it won't pop, and then you'll go ahead and flick, and then you're essentially getting like a kickflip or something like that, or even a tray flip. It just doesn't pop. For that one, you get a quick pop, and getting a quick pop is more important than getting a ghost pop when you're trying to do a high trick. So everybody's muscle memory is different, and having a high kick and steep concave can be beneficial. Typically, most people would say combine that with a lower truck and not both, because it kind of feels like you're riding some weird banana boat, canoe. So even riding it doesn't really feel as stable. So that one's weird because I feel like I have to like pop and then it's kind of delayed. or on the low mellow closer to the ground setup, it just feels like the board sticks to your feet better, and when it's coming up you can control and really lock in to doing grinds. So for street skating, being low to the ground is definitely beneficial, and most pros would agree with that. The only downside again is getting wheel bite, so small wheels on a low truck and mellow setup really helps fight that, but then you don't get the benefits of bigger wheels, like a smoother ride or rolling longer. So with a setup like this, you're not really going to be flowing around the park. You're mostly going to be doing kind of just like one-time tricks and not killing the park with crazy lines. Yeah, so the problem I was having with the first board is that delayed pop. And that really gets amplified when you're going out of a bank, because on flat you're already this steep. But then a bank, you're having a pop almost like that. Where at least with the more mellow one you get kind of more of that little flattening control. So you can flick your ankle and whip it around, and you get less chance it goes pop.